on the stream. And here we are, live from my house, Behind the Scope LLC. So today I want to welcome everybody here, and I want to give you a heads up. This is a 4th of July weekend podcast. So it's just myself. Fred is off enjoying himself this weekend. And I want to thank everybody for um, joining me. This is a great weekend celebrating the independence of our country. And I want to show you here what this is. This right here is our plaque from YouTube that says that we passed 100,000 subscribers. And Fred and I want to thank everybody out there for helping us achieve this amazing goal. From October of 2024 up until now, we have been constantly climbing and climbing subscriber levels. And it's only because of you out there that we have made this. So thank you so much. I'd like to also thank everybody on our crew. So let's start with Wesley Reese, our sound engineer, amazing sound, Ron Green, our director of photography, Josh Pitts, our first AC and all-around great guy, also strong man. If I need anything lifted, man, Josh is there. He's a great man. We have Malcolm Chan for graphic design. He operates the TriCaster on Sundays, and he's our go-to guy on just about anything IT. I'd also like to put a shout out to our amazing behind the scenes photographer from Aesthetic Aperture LLC, Nicole Rivera. All of these people that I have mentioned, they have been with us since the start back in October of 2024. So I want to send a special thanks from Fred and I to all of you out there. I want to thank our amazing editors, Ronnie and Larry Wimberly. Also, I want to thank our major contributors. We have Jack Overfield, Jerry Strickland, Stan Jorgensen, all of those that have appeared on our show. Daniel Flores, Steve and Dorothy Stooksbury, Tony Sanchez, Connie Newkirk, Bill Brisbane, and so many others out there. You've made this channel an extremely popular channel. So thank you for that. I'd also like to thank our venues that have hosted us. We've had the 1940 Hobby Air Museum, and we've had the Ellington Flight Museum. Both of them are great venues. They give us a terrific background, and it makes us feel right at home because of the aviation flavor that they provide. And if you hadn't had a chance to go visit them, please do. They are extraordinary historic monuments to aviation, and you should join. You know, they have good memberships, family memberships, and those memberships help keep those venues around for future generations. So, anyway, once again, as you know, there's a lot of time and energy that's devoted to making these shows. And each of those people above that I've mentioned have contributed a lot of their time for free or a huge reduction in what their normal cost would be to help keep this channel alive. They really have a lot of skin in the game, and I really thank them for that. I'd like to ask that if you could just let a playlist run consecutively, it'll help pump up our hours so we can get to our monetization level. That would be amazing. That's all I'm going to ask of you. Once again, thank you for all those that have contributed, and special thanks to my partner, Fred, who's not here for collaborating and making us hatch this amazing channel. So now for the rest of the story. So let's move on. Back in the 70s, I was an air traffic controller. I was based at Loring Air Force Base in Limestone, Maine, LIZ. The base was Strategic Air Command, and the base's mission was to protect the country from attack by the Soviets from coming in over the northeast. The base closed down due to budget constraints in the 90s. And while I was stationed at Loring Air Force Base, I worked in the RAPCON. That's Radar Approach Control. Okay. One day, I was working the Precision Approach Radar, which is a PAR. And for those of you that don't understand PAR, it's a radar approach that the controller guides the pilot by radar vectors and altitude information. The vectors maintain a position to the center line of the runway, and the glide slope information provides a similar descent rate as you would get on a published ILS. The radar controller uses a little servo that's attached to the equipment being used to keep the radar signal the best focus of the aircraft. There's also a little gain control so that you can minimize the target so that you can find the direct center of that aircraft as he's coming down the glide slope and glide path. And yes, it's two radars that sweep up and down. They look like windshield wipers when they're going, and there's a distinct line that indicates the glide slope and indicates the center line of the runway. This aircraft is this radar is so precise that it guides the aircraft all the way down to a decision height of 100 feet above the runway, and you can use a quarter mile of visibility while the aircraft is flying. And you provide this information while he is, as he's situated to the runway center line. Okay, uh, when the breaks out and flares in final, you also tell him exactly where he is. You would say center line, slightly right of center line, or slightly left of center line. I was very proud of my ability to work this position. You really had to know the winds aloft and be able to give 1 degree heading change. And the way you did a 1 degree heading change, although there's not a detente on the compass, is you would turn the aircraft right 4 degrees, and then you turn it back left 3 degrees. And that would allow for that 1 degree correction. And they said it couldn't be done, right? Well, on the 27th of July, 1978, I was working the final radar position, uh, the PAR, and I was handing off a B-52 for the approach for full stop. Weather conditions were kind of iffy. It was just above VFR, so there would be a pretty good chance that the aircraft would be in a lot of clouds. Now, I don't doubt that the pilots would also monitor the ILS as they were coming down final, but in this particular day, ILS was not functioning. So I took the handoff on this heavy aircraft, and I started my initial phraseology. Boomer 02 Heavy, this is your lowering final controller. Do not acknowledge further transmissions. If no transmissions are received for 30 seconds on final, fly runway heading, climb and maintain 3000, contact departure control on 263.8, or whatever the UHF frequency is. Okay. I start giving it position as related to the center line of the runway. You slightly right of course, turn left heading such and such, slightly left of course, turn left heading or turn right heading such and such. Depending on which side he was on, you give him a vector to the final. Okay. Prior to descent, and it's not in standard order of the phraseology, I'd give the transmission, wheel should be down. Now, that transmission is normally given with the begin descent phraseology, but in my experience, and I've been working this position about 2 years, which is fairly seasoned for a PAR controller, um, when they put the gear down, you'll notice that the aircraft slows down a little bit, and already they get into kind of a descent configuration. So it ruins your timing when you do say begin descent for final. So they'll dip down below the descent line and back up again. So I kind of changed it around. It's not illegal. It's still proper phraseology. Then when he gets closer to the descent point, I'd give him the phraseology approaching glide path, begin descent. Now he'll descend about 500 feet a minute in order to stay on the glide path, and that will bring him directly to the threshold of the runway. With the radar, as I notice on the northeast side of my corner post, I see a target as I give this aircraft his descent. To the right of me is a big radar scope with a arrival controller sitting there, and I'm able to look over, and I can see that there's a small, tiny target with a little bit of a history to it. That tells me that that guy is moving and he's in the air. So I take the servo of the PAR and I drop it down to as low as it can go, and lower I can see that that target is there, and it can only be an aircraft. So I immediately initiate a turn and an immediate climb to the B-52 in order to miss a collision with what I determined to be an aircraft in the wrong place. Of course, I tell my arrival control of the action because he's sitting right next to me, so he can start sequencing it back into the flow of traffic. And the duty supervisor at the time was Lieutenant Alan Overby, and we let him know what just happened. I get pulled off the position. We review the tapes. Long story short, I was in the correct position to be giving that safety vector. The aircraft, after it landed, they contacted the RAPCON CATCO and told them that if not for the final controller, they would have collided with that aircraft. He was crossing from right to left on final, and they saw the aircraft, and it was close. They thanked that final controller for his actions because he certainly saved the aircraft and flight crew from disaster. And I want to just show you, this here is the award that I had received for that save. I'm very proud of that. And I do think about that on occasion. In fact, a lot of times when I see a tower and a runway, I think about that B 52 on final. And what if I hadn't turned that aircraft? What if I said, that must just be ground clutter? Moving target interval might have been in place, and might have been a car going across, and I was getting a reflection from something. So, precision approach radar, they were going to hit. They were going to be darn close. Okay. And I'd like to know if anybody listening to this lives in the Limestone area that has access to the old base operations building. They used to have a wall with the commemorative plaques of those aircraft, those controllers that have air traffic control saves. I'd love to know if that is still there, and if it is, you could snap a picture and send it to me. I'd really greatly appreciate that. So, well, that's my story for today. And then next Saturday podcast, Fred and I will be back. We'll bring you new information in the air traffic control world, along with other aviation information or special interest stories. And once again, I want to thank you all for following us. Continue to like, share, and subscribe for all those pilots out there that fly. Hope you catch a tailwind. And for all those that watch our channel, remember, go down and hit that playlist and just let it play through. I mean, you don't have to watch, or you could watch it a couple of times. Let's help us get that to that monetization level, okay? We really want to keep this channel going. I made another connection up at Chicago Center. I've got a friend up there I used to work with, Dave Sapiton, and Patty Sliwa. She's on Messenger with me, and she's going to hook me up with some other person. Hopefully, I can fly on up to Chicago, get a group of those controllers I used to work with, or just a group of controllers from there, and we can get some of their hair-raising stories, or just personal interest stories from them. Wouldn't that be great? So from Fred and I, and for the 4th of July weekend, have a great time. Enjoy your freedoms. God bless America. Be safe out there. Bye now.